didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Starting with Nicholas Lindsey. Last year, Nicholas Lindsey, a former juvenile offender, received his first life sentence for killing a police officer in St. Petersburg, Florida. But in a recent hearing, a U.S. Supreme Court ruling forced Judge Thane Covert to reconsider the original sentence of life in prison without parole. Sadly, the convicted cop killer's former neighbor did not seem happy about the judge's decision to hand down a second life sentence. During the hearing, Nicholas Lindsey appeared disinterested and showed little remorse for his crime. According to defense attorney Joe Piscopo, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling means
the court decided was that juveniles, people under the age of 18 that commit a crime, don't have the same mental capacity to think like adults. Therefore, they should be treated differently.
The defendant's criminal history and potential for rehabilitation must also be considered before imposing a sentence of life without parole. Despite the ruling, Judge Thane Covert had significant doubts about Lindsey's potential for rehabilitation.
The testimony, however, of the defendant's mother, Deneen Sweat, and Nicholas Lindsey Sr., is not trustworthy, not credible, and not reliable.
He cited aggravating circumstances, including an escalating criminal history, before he sentenced Lindsey to a second term of life in prison without the possibility of parole. David Crawford's daughter Amanda felt justice had been served, but was disturbed by Lindsey's lack of remorse. She stated,
"Justice was served, and I'm glad it's over, and it just kind of proves to me that he's an animal," as he sat there smiling.
Meanwhile, Lindsey's mother had little to say about the ruling.
It's what the judge ordered, so that's what it is. It is what it is.
And Lindsey himself even grinned when the judge handed down his second life sentence. Lindsey's attorneys can still appeal the sentence, but for now, justice has been served for the slain police officer and his family. Second is Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. The Charleston courtroom was the setting for a disturbing and shocking scene. Two suspects, Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham, were handed their sentence for the brutal murder of a 3-year-old toddler under their care. As forensics reported, it was hard to describe the extent of the abuse inflicted on the little girl, who was beaten with belts and coat hangers, leaving all but one area unharmed, the soles of her feet. Days following the incident, Butts admitted to Somerville police that she whipped the toddler for a potty accident. What makes this even more heinous is that the little girl was the daughter of Lucia Richardson, Butts' own childhood friend. In the courtroom, the judge expressed her outrage and horror at the photo of the girl's lifeless body.
What has been done to ignore what must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child on a daily basis is more than disconcerting to this court. And as such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time you serve.
But the two women couldn't bear the weight of their actions. They proceeded to wail uncontrollably and passed out on the floor due to hyperventilation. Even Butts' mother had to be ushered out by 3 staff members after shouting loudly at her daughters to get up. This is a tragic and disturbing case of a senseless and violent act that ended the life of an innocent child. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of our actions and the importance of holding people accountable for their crimes. Third is Tia Skinner. It's a story of a senseless crime that left a family shattered. Mara Skinner and her husband Paul were attacked by their own daughter Tia Skinner, along with Jonathan Kurtz and James Preston, nearly a year ago.
We were awakened by you, Jonathan and James, wearing masks and bearing knives. You savagely and barbarically stabbed us.
The trio had plotted to kill Tia's parents because they didn't approve of her relationship with Kurtz. In a recent court hearing, Mara Skinner spoke directly to the teenagers responsible for the attack. She accused them of choosing not to stop and not having mercy on her family's screams and cries for help. Tia Skinner claims,
I wanted my parents to be able to live their lives. I fought with my parents as most teenagers would. I said something to a guy. He took what I said literally and carried out the act. I wish I could go back to before I got involved with this guy. I wish I would have listened to what my parents said about him. Most importantly, I wish I could have my family back. Unfortunately, none of those wishes will ever come true.
As all 3 were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the hearing, Jonathan Kurtz used an expletive and told off the judge, while James Preston asked for an acquittal, but their words didn't matter.
Your Honor, I've given you evidence and statements to show my innocence.
The family played a tribute video to Paul, which showed the teenagers the lives they decided to change. In a statement made by Maura Skinner after the sentencing,
I, along with my family and friends, will forever bear a heart-crushing loss. Finally, I am thankful for a justice system that works.
This is a tragic case of a family torn apart by the actions of their own daughter and her accomplices. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of senseless violence and the importance of holding people accountable for their crimes. Fourth is Ronnie O'Neal. Drama and decibels. This case is on another level compared to the rest on today's list. It starts with an unusual defense from the not-so-usual person. Ronnie O'Neal is on trial for killing his girlfriend and their young daughter, and he took the unconventional method of defending himself. O'Neal also chose to surprise everyone, including the judge, by shouting his opening statements.
By the time it's all said and done, you will see who is the mass murderer. In Tampa Bay, the state of Florida. You will know why what occurred on March 18, 2018 early.
The showing of objects and hearing of testimonies, which included his son who survived the attack, lasted weeks. Yet, as strong and unconventionally striking his first appearance was, based on body language, voice volume, his son, and the evidence, all only proved he was 1000% guilty. Like in UNO reverse card, justice flipped the situation in the end, where the judge was the one with a loud volume, while O'Neal felt silent on the verge of weeping as she said,
19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. Shootings, stabbings, drownings, suffocatings, blown apart by cars in DUI manslaughter cases. Horrible things. This is the worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go.
Ronnie O'Neal was given 3 consecutive life sentences plus 9 years for his actions. Fifth is Schumacherr. It was a very dramatic day in court as a young man learned his fate. He beat his girlfriend's little boy to death because he wouldn't stop crying. Brittany Smallwood has more on today's sentencing for us. Hi Brittany, it was intense at sentencing. The courtroom was packed with family and friends supporting the defendant Schumacherr and the victim's family. As soon as the case was called, Schumacherr walked into the state Supreme Court room, pleading his case and telling his victim's mother,
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Schumacherr was sentenced Friday for beating 23-month-old Austin Smith last March. Before the sentence was handed down, Schumacherr and his defense attorney fought for the minimum sentence, 15 years to life.
Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration, and his inexperience in babysitting.
In Judge M. William Boulder's last words to Schumacherr,
based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
Boulder said he listened intently to Schumacher's testimony during trial and called him a manipulator who minimizes his actions.
That you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me, end quote.
And for afterwards, Schumacherr was sentenced to 25 years to life behind bars. Schumacher's defense attorney, Joseph Terranova, says he plans to immediately appeal the sentence. Both say the death of Austin Smith was not intentional.
He's cool, as he said, he got frustrated and he hit the child, but never with the intent to cause serious physical injury or Austin Smith's death.
Despite Schumacherr and his defense attorney's pleas for the minimum sentence of 15 years to life, Judge M. William Boulder sentenced the 17-year-old Schumacherr to 25 years to life behind bars, stating,
For someone who just turned 17 years old, you have caused so much pain, so much grief, and so much despair to so many, many people.
Schumacher's defense attorney, Joseph Terranova, stated that he plans to immediately appeal the sentence. Both Schumacherr and Terranova maintain that the death of 23-month-old Austin Smith was not intentional.
I never wanted Austin to die. I don't know what I was doing.
As we reflect on these stories, we are reminded of the heinous crimes committed by individuals who were meant to be protectors and caretakers. The pain and suffering inflicted on those innocent victims and their loved ones is a reminder that we must remain vigilant and speak up against any form of abuse. Let us continue to seek justice and advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves.